right, this lesson video is part 2 of 9-5 solving quadratic equations using the quadratic formula. In part 1, we focused on what the quadratic formula was and how to use it. In this part 2, we're going to focus on just one piece of the quadratic formula. Here's the whole formula. We are only going to focus on what's underneath this radical sign here, this b squared minus 4ac part. That part right there is called the discriminant. So when you see a problem in math that says find the discriminant, right, you have to know what the quadratic formula is, and you have to know that the discriminant is this little piece under the radical. Okay, so basically that piece is not going to tell us what the solution for x is. We need the entire formula for that, but it is going to tell us how many solutions we're going to get. Okay, so if this, once we simplify this down to one number, if it is a negative number, we're not going to get any answers. It's going to be a no solution type of problem, right? If this is a negative number. Because think about it, it's under the radical sign and you can't take the square root of a negative number. It's not possible. So you just have no solution, right? If this is exactly equal to 0, it means you're going to have one solution, right? Because if we have negative something plus or minus 0, it doesn't matter if we're adding 0 or subtracting 0, our answer is going to be the same. So yeah, you can still separate it into two different equations, one with the plus sign, one with a minus. But if this is 0, you're going to get the same answer at the end. So you're only going to have one answer. And then if it's a positive number, then you're going to get two solutions. Okay, so all it's telling us is if it's negative, no solutions. If it's equal to 0, one solution. And if it's positive, two solutions. Okay, so again, here is our entire quadratic formula. The discriminant is just this piece in red. It's just what's under the radical sign, and its only function is to tell us how many answers we're going to get. And so you're like, well, Ms. Nyman, that's great, but why would I ever need to know how many answers I'm going to get? Why wouldn't I just solve? Well, you are going to see problems where they say, how many real solutions does this quadratic equation have? And then you're just looking at it going, I don't know, I have to solve it and see, I don't know. Well, there's a quick shortcut way, right? We have this little formula right here called the discriminant. So we're just going to jump right into some examples on the bottom. They give you some examples here, but we're going to do some of these down here at the bottom. I've highlighted 8. I started with number 1 already. So for number 1, the quadratic equation that we have to solve is 3x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0. But it's not asking us what the solution is. It's not asking us to solve for x. It's just asking us how many solutions we're going to get. So we're going to use this little b squared minus 4ac. Where did I get that? It's the discriminant. It's the part underneath the radical in the quadratic formula. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to plug in A, B, and C. So I did that here. And I'm going to simplify. And once I simplified, I got 40. Positive 40. So if I was using the whole formula, I'd have negative something plus or minus the square root of 40. Now 40 is not a perfect square, so the square root of 40 is going to be some kind of weird decimal, but I'm still going to be able to add it to something or subtract it from something. So I am going to get two answers at the end. If the number under the radical ends up being positive, that means you get two solutions. So if the question here is how many solutions does this quadratic equation have? It has 2. Okay, so let's just keep going with that. Let's just do some more. Number 3, we're going to do next. Remember, I said we're going to do 8 total. Here's the second one. We have our A value, our B value, and our C value. This is A, this is B, this is C. And we're going to use b squared minus 4ac. That's our discriminant. So I'm going to have negative 10 squared minus 4 times A times C. Okay, and then I simplify. So negative 10 times negative 10 is 100, minus 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times negative 9 is negative 72. So I have a double negative here, so that's going to end up being 100 plus 72, which is 172. Since this is a positive number, that means I get 2 real solutions. And then you're like, why am I writing real? Of course it's real. Like, what else would it be? Well, in math, we have something called imaginary numbers, and that's in much higher, upper level math. So we're not going to cover any of that in this course. However, we do have to specify that there's not just any two solutions. They can't be imaginary number solutions. They have to be real number solutions. So we do say that word real, but since we're not using non-real numbers in this course, it seems kind of redundant or not important to say it, but it is important to say two real solutions. Okay, next one, we're gonna do number 5, 3x squared minus 13x equals 10. 3x squared minus 13x equals 10. And first of all, to identify a, b, and c, we need all of these numbers on the same side of the equal sign. So I need to move that 10 over. So this becomes 3x squared minus 13x minus 10 equals 0. And then I've got a, b, and c. So when I use my discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac, that's going to be, b is negative 13, so negative 13 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 10. Okay, and then I just simplify. I am not solving for x here. I need the entire quadratic formula to solve for x. I'm just telling how many solutions I'm going to get for x when I do solve. Okay, so that's 169 minus 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times negative 10 is negative 120. A double negative becomes a positive, so this is going to be 289. Since it is a positive number, that means I'm going to have two solutions. Not none, not one, but two. And we kind of think that's the norm, right? As long as there's a positive number under the radical, we always get two solutions. But the exceptions are, well, what if it's 0 under the radical? Square root of 0 is 0. In that case, you're only going to get one right solution. And if by some chance, it doesn't happen very often, but if by some chance you get a negative number under the radical, then there's no solution because you can't ever take the square root of a negative number. Nothing times itself is going to equal a negative number because even if it was a negative number to begin with, a negative times a negative is a positive. You're never going to get a negative number under the radical. It's not going to happen. All right, so then I have 7. 2x squared minus 20 equals negative x. For number 7. Okay, so obviously I got to move this guy over and he's going to go in between here. So I need to add x here, add x over here. These go away. 2x squared plus x minus 20 equals 0. And then I've got a. The number in front of x here is 1, so that's b. And c is negative 20. And I'm using b squared minus 4ac to determine how many solutions I'm going to get. So that's 1 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 20. 1 minus 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times negative 20 is negative 160. So double negative becomes a plus. So I get 161. That's positive, so that means I have two solutions. Okay, hopefully that's making sense. It looked for a second like it might go negative, but the double negative that became a positive here gave us a big number. Okay, then I've got number 9, negative 18x plus 9x squared. Equals 0. Oh, wait. 9 minus 18x. Okay, sorry. Equals 0. All right, so I need to rearrange this to identify a, b, and c. So I'm going to put it in standard form. Biggest exponent first. Next and last I have a positive 9, and that's equal to 0. So this is a, this is b, and this is c. So I got b squared minus 4ac. I'm going to plug in b squared. That's negative 18 squared minus 4 times 9 times 9. Okay, so negative 18 squared. 18 squared is 324. Minus 4 times 9 is 36. 36 times 9 is 324. and so I get 0. So whenever I get 0 in my discriminant, that means I only have one solution. It's either negative or positive. If it's negative, there's no solution. If it's positive, there's 2. And then in between, if it happens to be exactly 0, there's only one solution. Okay, next one, number 11, 9x squared equals 81. Okay, obviously we can, both of these are perfect squares, so it would be the difference of 2 squares we could factor and solve easily, but we're not solving for x here, we're just telling how many solutions there's gonna be. So I'm gonna subtract 81 from both sides here, and I'm gonna have 9x squared minus 0x minus 81 equals 0. You don't have to put this middle part in, I'm just showing you that this is our trinomial, but we don't have an x term, right? So A is 9, B is 0, and C is negative 81. So when I do b squared minus 4ac, I get 0 squared minus 4 times 9 times negative 81. Okay, so far so good. So that's 0 minus 4 times 9 is 36. 36 times 81 equals 2916, and that's negative. So it ends up being plus. So my answer is positive 2916. So that means I'm going to have 2 solutions to this quadratic formula, for this quadratic equation. Okay, let's do a couple more. That was number 11. We got 2 more to go. Number 13. Get a sheet of paper here. That one. Number 13, 8x squared plus 9x equals 2. 8x squared plus 9x equals 2. It's crooked. All right, and then so I need to move everything on the same side of the equal sign. 8x squared plus 9x minus 2 equals 0. And then I need to identify A, B, and C. And then I'm going to use b squared minus 4ac. So that's going to be 9 squared minus 4 times 8 times negative 2. And 81 minus 4 times 8 is 32. 32 times negative 2 is negative 64. Those double minuses become a plus, and that's going to be 145, I believe. So since it's positive, that means I have 2 solutions. Doesn't really matter what this number is, we just care if it's positive, negative, or 0. We just care about the sign in front, okay? And last but not least, number 15, 3x squared minus 18x equals negative 14. Okay, last one we're gonna solve. So we want to get everything on one side of the equal sign, so I'm gonna add 14. 3x squared minus 18x plus 14 equals 0. And then I wanna identify A, B, and C. And I'm gonna use b squared minus 4ac, my discriminant, to figure out how many solutions this equation would have if I solved for x. So I'm gonna have negative 18 squared minus 4 times 3 times 14. So negative 18 squared, I gotta use my calculator, is 324. I think I had that one earlier. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 14 equals 168. And 324 minus 168 is going to be positive 156. So since is positive, we're going to have 2 real solutions. Now, I skipped around quite a bit. If you look on here, I didn't do all the problems. So obviously there must have been some in here that I didn't do that would have had negative answers and we would have said no solution. It just so happened that I didn't hit up any of those. But hopefully that makes sense on how to use the discriminant. The discriminant, the part underneath the radical sign is called the discriminant, right? B squared minus 4ac. And its only purpose is to tell us how many solutions we're going to get. Is it going to be one solution, two solutions, or is it going to be something weird where we get no solution, right? We can figure that out with the discriminant. Please let me know if you have questions, and I'll be happy to answer them.